Hello and Nini. This is Hetfaket with a slightly different video than usual. Since something I love to do on this channel is read the Egyptian Book of the Dead, I figured I'd go back to the beginning with one of the first books of the dead. This is known as the Papyrus of Ani, and it's really the basis for many other books of the dead, at least their translations. Now, in this initial translation, which was done by Wallace Budge, of course, an early Egyptologist from England, it's not 100% accurate. However, it helped clarify, moving forward, sort of the themes and whatnot that would be happening in other books of the dead. So, this is important in terms of history, even if it's not a perfect translation. So I decided I want to cover the Papyrus of Ani. The other Book of the Dead I have been reading is called Awakening Osiris. You can purchase it on Amazon, and it is a modern translation, and personally I prefer it to the Papyrus of Ani. However, I also do not want to read the whole thing since that author was a modern, they are a modern author, and I don't want to read the whole book. I want people to purchase the book and read through it. And though I don't intend to take down my videos that I made earlier, I hope that they kind of can be used as sort of a teaser for what the rest of the book is, because I haven't even covered even the best chapters, the most beautiful chapters in Awakening Osiris. So I highly encourage you to go purchase the book. I've purchased it many times for many of my friends, and it's one of my favorite books. I read it every day. So, however, because I don't want to read that book exclusively, since, the translator's still alive and well, and that money should be going to her. I mean, I'm not getting any money from reading it. I just want to share it with people because it's my favorite book. But I thought it would be better to maybe look at things that were to look at a version of the Book of the Dead and kind of compare this very early translation to a more modern translation as well. So I'm going back to the Papyrus of Ani, not only for the sake of history, but also to give the people the opportunity to listen to it in chunks, because it is rather heavy. It's not smooth like Awakening Osiris is. It can be quite heavy. So I wanted to read it in chunks, just like how I was reading Awakening Osiris initially until I decided to stop. So this is sort of going to replace that for the time being. And I think it'll be easier to digest if people are able to listen to it instead of looking at a brick of academic text. So I am going to be deciphering all of the academic aspects of it and sort of breaking it down and reading it out loud so you can just listen to it. You don't have to go to like an academic website. I think I'm using University of Pennsylvania has an English copy of the Papyrus of Ani, which was Budge's original translation. So that's the one I'm going to be reading. However, it can be fairly intimidating. There will be a link to it in the description, but I will also be reading it in chunks. And just like every other version of the Book of the Dead, some of those sections are significantly longer than others, but I will be covering them all. I'll be covering them all in order as well, which is tough because a lot of the initial chapters are really heavy. But then you get to the more beautiful chapters like Becoming the Bennu Bird, which is very similar to another portion of the Book of the Dead that I read, this one from Awakening Osiris, which is called Becoming the Phoenix. And that is one of my favorite portions of Awakening Osiris. And so this is sort of the same prayer, but from the Papyrus of Ani. So those shorter, sort of, for me at least, more invigorating prayers, those come a little bit later, but I'm going to go in order and not just share the ones that I really like, because I want to cover the whole thing. And it's going to be probably sort of a slog, and I don't expect everybody to listen to every single chapter just because it's you know, it's a lot. It can be a lot, I think, even though personally I think it's beautiful and I'm very, very excited to be reading it. And I will do another, this is more of an has become more of an update video actually. I do have a simple introduction to the Papyrus of Ani that I will probably put out in a different video. I guess I'm making this more of an update video because it already is getting quite long. However, I just wanted to explain that I don't want to read anything more from Awakening Osiris, not because I don't think it's beautiful. I mean, like I mentioned, it's my favorite book. I just want other people to, I want that author, that translator to make money, because this is my favorite version of the Book of the Dead. And when I started this channel, I just, and this is still the case, I wanted to share it, these passages from Awakening of Osiris, because I thought they were so beautiful. But now I'm worried that, I'm getting a little worried that, like, if I read these out loud just because I want to share them and I love them, the author won't be making much money anymore. So I've decided to stop reading Awakening Osiris. But we're going to be moving on to new things. I'm going to hopefully be doing some of my own writing. We're going to be looking at writing from antiquity more, which of course those authors aren't alive anymore. And so, you know, we don't have to worry about like taking away from them in terms of like physical money. And it would probably be good because remembering people is how people live on in the afterlife. So yeah, but we're going to be doing more of that than Awakening Osiris. As I mentioned before, I love Awakening Osiris. I read it literally every day. Or I try to, at least. I do my best to. But I don't really read it every day, not as much as I would like to. But it's a beautiful book. I'll leave a link to it in the description. I'm updating all of those videos I had made with chapters from Awakening Osiris to have links in the description. And like I said, I don't plan to delete those ones, but you know, I just don't want to make any more moving forward because I want people to go out on their own and read them. Another reason I started this channel is it can be difficult for me to sit down and read things. So I thought it would be easier to like listen to prayers like that. But at this point, unless I, you know, figure something else out, I won't be doing any more Awakening Osiris. Anyway, I think that this video has gotten long enough. Thank you for bearing with me. I will do a simple introduction video to the Papyrus of Ani. Thank you all for being so patient. Onk uja seneb, senepti, friends. Farewell.